Welcome to the Infinite Life, consciousness raising, spiritual transformation. I'm your host, Katische Haberfield. I am a channel of spiritual beings who portray, display, embody, and convey higher spiritual intelligence to help us humans who are incarnated here today on Earth on our journey of not only a single spiritual awakening, but multiple spiritual awakenings. We're all here to help, and there's bound to be an episode or an entire season that will help you on your journey. So I'll let you explore them. But if you would like to work with me in a private capacity, you can head to katische.com. And thank you. Bless your soul and namaste. I wish you well on your journey. Enjoy the episode today. In this episode, you'll hear a one-question session with Jackie Philip. Jackie is an artist whose work carries a strong energetic and spiritual component, and she brings a question about how to expand her art business and attract more aligned clients. This is something many people experience when their work is not just creative, but also carries a deeper level of meaning or transmission, where their question becomes not just how to grow, but how to do so in a way that remains aligned with the essence of what they create. As with all of these sessions this season, I'll take a moment to clarify the question, and then I'll connect and bring through the most appropriate being in the light to respond. What follows is the full transmission. So Jackie, welcome today. If you'd like to start with your one question, and then I can see which particular being in the light would like to come through with a response to your question.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity.
It's all right.
My question is, at this moment in time, what am I required to be and do to expand my art business to receive more aligned and ready clients?
Okay, so I'll just confirm this back to you. Your question is, what are you supposed to do and be in order to receive more aligned clients for your art business? Is that in a nutshell, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Let me just check into the energy. Okay, I'm sensing two energies here. One is an angel, and the other is like a brotherly figure. And he declines to show his identity because this is a public podcast session. So he says he will not be sharing anything that will reveal his identity to you. He said this is because he wishes to distinguish for people who are listening for the first time that this is not a mediumship session. You're not asking questions from people who have recently died, but you are receiving energy from appropriate beings who have finished their life review in their next adventure. And this particular brotherly figure is an energy that has known you in a light body. So when you were Katische would use the term incarnation, but it's not correct. When you were in a presence which had no body itself, which had no physical incarnation, and I'm getting the understanding that this is what we call a light body soul connection. This particular, we shall call him gentleman, knew you as a expression of creation that created, that's nice, the most spectacular visions in the night sky. And he says that you would know them, and Katisha's going to struggle for a minute while he just connects down to the word that they use in Earth, because she directs her energy so that I come through as the purest form of consciousness, and northern lights would be the right word. Okay, I'll just readjust. Yes, so you are a light being that delighted in painting the skies over the northernmost parts of what we would call the globe, the earth. And he says, for those of you who are loyal listeners, you'll know that Katische has expressed before that angels do come in the form of the northern lights. So if you wish to call the visions that you see in the northern hemisphere as angelic representations of creativity of the creator, then in that particular time when you were not embodied in a physical human form and you were a creative artist of light, you expressed yourself in a way that did delight and please humans. Now, he says he understands that this is a long way of getting around to answer your question, but just bear with. Okay. And he said, I'm just going to do a transfer of energy because the angel is trying to bring in something that Katische found profoundly. The very first time that she clicked on your personal profile on Facebook, she came up with the painting that you've done of I think it's the water lilies, the blue lilies. And she received an energetic transmission from you that actually it brought her joy because she's like, oh, okay, that was fast. I can tell that she is an artist that transmits energy through her paintings because I just got an energy transmission. And she also relieved some unexpected sadness from an incarnation in ancient Egypt. So she declines to mention which one it was, but she has also been deliberating about the spiritual aspects of some essential oils recently, personally. And it was interesting for her. She was going to purchase Blue Lotus essential oil, and it was for a spiritual transmission purpose to do some teaching. And she viewed your painting and said, oh, I don't need to do that anymore. I think that was just for me. So that's her way of saying, and she's not going to look back at the screen because it's going to break the transmission, but that's her way of saying thank you for that. So that's the power of your artwork now and then. So let me just get the next part of the transmission. Okay. So I guess part of the marketing component, he says, of people understanding the energetics behind a spiritual painting such as yours is to understand the journey of the soul, or the many journeys of the souls that you personally, as we would call you, the collective flower that is expressions of different streams of consciousness, have experienced. So not every person on earth is able to paint a painting and emit a energetic transmission. We expect people to do Reiki or a hands-on based healing or some kind of modality to transmit language, to transmit an energetic transmission. But Katische did not need to see your painting in the flesh, in the real, in an exhibition or a gallery to receive that transmission. Neither did she have to pay you in order to receive that exchange. Okay, it was freely given and it was encoded as if there was light language in there. But he says, knowing you from the version that you were when you were up here with me and we painted the sky, it's not as simple as light language. It's much more complex. And people would say, well, there's a science, and wrong word, but a biology, a chemistry, and all those fancy science words behind it that actually is encoded in the stream of consciousness from your light being form that had to then filter down through and into your mind so that when you painted the actual painting, that it was therefore in the very, how would we say, elements, the very fiber, the very core of your painting. So that is not an easy thing to do, to put that in a paragraph of a post or on your website. So he commends you for being so brave and bold, aren't the right word, but in many painters' point of view, brave and bold to understand quite clearly that you transmit energy in this and all of your paintings. So he would say, keep going. But now that you know that you have a connection to the Northern Lights, I know that people are very fascinated by the Northern Lights. And so in Australia, where Katisha's from, they also get the Aurora lights. She always gets confused with the terminology, but the Southern Aurora lights. And so photography does capture that nicely, beautifully, and so does videography. But to some extent, you have to stand out under the Northern Lights and realize that it is almost invisible or imperceptible to the human naked eye, and that you need a camera to experience it. But he's saying, sorry, the angel's interrupting there, that the power of the medium that you paint with means that, I see, the facilitation of, if you're bold enough, experiences to actually go see the Northern Lights, experience almost like a mixed media session where you try drawing with clients, try drawing the Northern Lights, you try photographing the Northern Lights, and then if they are rugged up well enough, they can try painting the Northern Lights. And what it provides for them is both an experience, a wonder, and a joy. They get an energetic connection to the angelic realm and the creative realms we are now. It also then triggers their potential light body lifetimes where they were creative artists as well. And you become so-called a leader of conscious channeling through direct involvement rather than just through, well, Katische would call it accidental because she didn't go, oh, I need some help with Blue Lotus and a past life in Egypt. But she found your page through the book that you published together and went, what a beautiful painting, and got the energetic transmission. So he says the next level of your artistry is to embodying the leadership that you have, because we would call you the leader of the painters in the sky, and to connect with, perhaps that it needs first a solo retreat, some time spent in appropriate accommodation where you can experiment with how something like this could be facilitated, and know that, yes, there may be what you people call a war. He said, sorry to use the word people, but it was the nicest thing he could think of at the moment, going on around the globe. But the Northern Lights can be experienced in a variety of different locations, but the people that would come to such a, if you would like to call it a retreat, are interested in learning what you know how to do and have known how to do since you were born. And they don't need a healing session to do that. You're an activator, as Katische would call it. And so that would be what we would call a appropriately priced, high-end, facilitated leadership retreat, consciousness activation enabling session. So he says, that is how I see you from my perspective up here in the sky. And it has been an honor and a pleasure to connect with you today. And I will withdraw my consciousness so Katische can sort of move her eyes back into the screen, right? And now she will continue on with the angel. Thank you. Okay, just give me a second to adjust. Okay, so the angel says, while that may seem simple to you, and maybe even obvious, and maybe you have thought about it, we don't know what you have on your website. The point here is that sometimes it takes an outside authority who seems somewhat magical or etherical or unimaginable to actually provide, she says, thumbs up or stamp of approval, which is different to the art world's stamp of approval. And yes, if you have received marketing or sales training, that is also wonderful as well. But with the spiritual component to your paintings and the poetry that you do write as well, the more that you can see, and she's talking in first person, I believe the more that you get involved with deepening the ways that you express these energy transmissions through writing, through poetry, through creative collaboration in whatever form of medium it is, be it physically using your hands to produce something, audio being in conversations such as this one, which also involves television, or even participating in connective sessions where you are featured as maybe a TEDx speaker or a guest speaker, that these may seem marketing 101 to some people. However, they are the way that people see visionaries, and especially in times when people are wanting to be inspired, then creating a signature energy and consciousness-based talk will help the entire world lift up the acceptability of a TED talk being not just people who run businesses that wish to promote a service or have done humanitarian work or overcome some great big research discovery or scientific discovery, the method that you bring to Earth is miraculous and is what we would call stellar, because it is interstellar. It's light being embodied in human consciousness, painted for humans to reinterpret into their consciousness. So she finds it quite funny that you've also been on stars shining brightly to people, and you've been in this collective consciousness known as Northern Lights, which is also light to inspire people. And here you are as a being of light wearing white on a transmission today. And we hope that people can see that sometimes there are just a few ways that you can, I guess the word is, step up in small ways in venues that do not expect spiritual entrepreneurs or spiritual practitioners or spiritual healers to mark their presence. So we don't necessarily mean to turn up to a, what do you call those things? A spiritual gathering, a spiritual community, a spiritual conference, and be guest speaker on that. We mean in really bold ways. We want you to target the corporate sector, because you need to inspire the next leader of generations to empower themselves through rest and recreation. We have seen decades and decades of burnout. We have seen decades and decades of masculinity and masculine style of retreats where people do bonding exercises and team exercises that are designed to cut through the, excuse my French, office crap, but that actually leave participants feeling more vulnerable and not sure whether they need a few wines, so to speak, to cover what actually they blurted out in these team bonding sessions. And they're not sure if they will get fired next week because their boss suddenly found out about some small vulnerability. When we're talking about creativity, the whole world is involved in creativity at the moment. And we need to ensure that the creative mindset of corporations for the future generations, we'll see, as we've seen, the next round of queens on the world is going to be all feminine, that the queens of the business world in the corporate world are going to be needed to be guided to do their retreats in different ways and out of the corporate boardroom, corporate functioned retreat centers that do look like beautiful hotels or venues, but quite frankly and quite truly bore the soul. So it is not to say that there won't be miraculous male leaders and kings in that midst, but your life is long and you need to understand that the period of war we see is brief, and there is a period now of reflection where you can afford to think about these two concepts that we have brought forward today and say, which one of these resonates the most right now? Which can I do right now? And which one of these is simply something that I need to do for a future pipeline for, say, 5 years' time or 10 years' time? Because quite frankly, the world needs to understand that art always has a spark in it, but that most artists have almost been driven mad by the creative spark that doesn't get appreciated. And there are many artists in the world who either charge exorbitant amounts, for example, a banana to be gaffer taped to a wall for somebody to eat it in a show of profound gluttony, and I have $7 billion to buy a banana. Look at me, let my share price rise, compared to those who are suffering and can only afford mere butter on toast for dinner and charge what they think is an appropriate amount, but the property that is not called intellectual property but is called spiritual property is priceless and has taken them many, many incarnations on earth to imbue, to be able to express to others. And so we believe that, sorry, I forgot to say there was a collective of angels that just came in. We of the Northern Lights Angel Collective, as opposed to the individual who you knew, would like to say that This is optional. This is not part of a soul contract, and we're not asking you to form any contract in any way, shape, or form. This is not a requirement. This is an optional exercise. But if you can see yourself helping both the corporate world and the artist world, and let the spiritual world tag along, we will see much more value on creativity and play and getting these human brains that we have away from a screen or an office, and to let them say, yes, we are in the age of AI, and yes, AI can do lots of tasks, but we're not at that point yet for the majority of people incarnated right now in humanity to be able to connect their AI to their higher self. It is possible for some people here to be able to do that and to produce writing or works of art that is imbued exactly with the essence of their soul, but the majority, it is a soulless copy paste. I need a robot to help me. I'm so bored with this task work. And so whilst that undertone of humans need to get boring stuff done easier, cheaper, we're all tired and we need help, we also need to move the corporate world back into creativity. And we need to make sure that when the artist has that spark of light, that soul connection that is even greater than the soul, it's a light body connection, that they are not starved of compensation for it, because they have had to hold that light inwards in order to produce something that may be more commercial. Excuse me, moving energy. And we up here are tired of seeing global organizations steal art and put them on cushions and sell them on Temu and other cheap sites, and have small businesses go bankrupt because they've stolen the art. So that's quite a blended message, but with our blessings, we say thank you, and we know that there will be a direct correspondence between you and Katische after this, and you'll get a copy of this. We say go through it with a highlighter pen and work out which of this message you wish to keep and act upon now, and that which you wish to discard completely, and that which resonates for a day later. And those who wish to see Jacqueline's paintings, please go and check them out. And perhaps they may start to reach out to you for some expeditions. And the Northern Lights is just what we see as the strongest energy. Perhaps you go visit, I'm making it up here, the tulips in Holland, or whatever it is that also inspires you, or something in Africa, or whatever it may be. But your strongest connection we see is actually the Northern Lights. So bless your light. There we go.
Beautiful.
Okay. Did that help?
It all resonated.
It all
Those are
resonated.
ideas I've had, and retreats and corporate and all the things, but it's just getting it focused and getting the people and carrying it through. So
Okay. Beautiful.
thank you for that kind of validation.
You're welcome. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
If you resonated with this session and you would like to ask your own question, there are 2 ways that you can work with me. 1, you can book a private 1-question session where we focus on an area of your life and bring through a direct transmission for you. Or if you're navigating something more complex and would like a deeper level of clarity, you can book a full direct transmission session where we explore your situation in more detail, channel the guidance, and provide structured next steps. All of the details are in the links. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.